a corrupt government cannot liberate the people. If the head of the stream is corrupt, the entire river will be also.
A blessed good day to you, my wisdom warriors. Wagwan, wagwan. I hope you guys are in good spirit.
So the government has been having daily press conferences, giving out information about what has been happening first before the hurricane hit and since the hurricane hit. There seems to be a whole lot of self-congratulation, not a lot of acknowledgement of the inadequacy of the response so far, and it has been inadequate. Here are the questions I asked.
Minister, billions of dollars are going to be coming in terms of relief. Why have we not yet heard the announcement of an independent oversight committee to include, for instance, private sector, civil society, and opposition members to monitor the expenditure that is going to be done along with regular reporting to Parliament? What we don't want is an Auditor General's report 6 months after the fact.
Whoopsie.
I have a whole heap of questions. I'll just ask a couple and yield to my colleagues.
Sure. All right, please
May
continue.
I continue?
Give me two more. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, second, I've been hearing everything that's been said. However, the national response, the immediate national response, has been slow and inadequate. The government has been acting as if it didn't know the kind of damage that a Cat 5 would have done. Why have we not seen immediate deployments of mass aid to the affected communities, along with things like immediate erection of warehouses to hold such aid, immediate erection of mass shelters and or evacuations? And then finally, for now, why had we not seen an equivalent in-time response to Westmoreland as there was to St. Elizabeth, seeing that that was where the eye of the hurricane made landfall? So it was obvious that there would also have been catastrophic damage there.
All right, thank you. Those are three questions. And Dion, it's good to have you here. Not used to having you at my press briefings, but I'm glad to have you. And those are questions you hear floating around, and I'm glad that we get a chance to answer them. You asked about a committee with the funds that are coming in. Yes, we're going to get some insurance payments from CRIF and some of the other policies that we have. I think tomorrow, you need to listen out for the Prime Minister's announcements. There will be a body that will be overseeing that reconstruction work. That will happen, and the Prime Minister will name the members of that. There has been discussions, even with the Leader of the Opposition, about whether or not that could be the National Partnership Council. Because remember, we have a National Partnership Council that has the opposition there, that has civil society, has academia, has private sector there. So it's a broad group of individuals that are in that partnership council. So one consideration is to use that partnership council that already exists with all of the key players and partners as that mechanism at the top. And it's going to be broader than just looking at how the funds are being paid. That committee is the one that's going to have to say, how do we build back? You know, we have communities that are close to the sea. What does rebuilding look like? Should we rebuild there? Should we rebuild somewhere else? And so there are big questions that we have to confront with as Jamaica. And the commitment the Prime Minister has made is that there will be an overarching body, whether you use an existing mechanism like the Partnership Council, or you use something that's new, a new body, but there will be an oversight body. Now, I left Cabinet early before it finished, not sure where they would have reached on it, but there has been discussions already in Cabinet on that one. The second one is about the immediate response being slow. I know Minister Vaz wants to answer, but so you can come forward, Minister Vaz. But as you come, just noting that a Cat 5 is a different category of a hurricane. And the devastation was significant. And as we've seen with many disasters around the world, and we've been looking at disasters around the world, how quickly you get to mobilize. There is always that period of assessing what is happening and getting the aid in. Yesterday I saw Red Cross, I saw GEM, I saw the World Food Programme out, and all of those are coordinated through the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. And so there is a lot more happening, and you hear about the helicopters dropping food. It is, after a hurricane like that, you have to assess and then reestablish new systems to get food out. And I think the team has been doing that, and I know Minister Vaz can tell you more about what has happened. And in terms of Westmoreland, everybody is important, and everybody is being focused on. The Prime Minister went out for 2 days straight, and he went to all of the affected parishes. He went to St. Elizabeth, he went to Westmoreland, he went to Trelawney, he went to St. James, and he also eventually went to Manchester, and he went to Hanover too. So those first 2 days after the hurricane, the Prime Minister made sure to go to all of the most affected parishes. Minister Vaz.
So I'll answer one aspect of it, and Minister Mackenzie will answer the other. There is a committee that has been named with Senator Keith Duncan and Minister Audrey Marks to coordinate with private sector.
They think he's a traitor, banging on about police brutality.
Take yourselves off. It's a free country.
Minister Audrey Marks to coordinate with private sector. That has been going on in earnest. We met all weekend. There is warehouse spacing that has been found in Montego Bay. There's warehouse spacing that has been found outside of what the government apparatus has. I would say we are up to 300,000 square feet of additional warehousing that is going to be needed, because we're going to be staging from Montego Bay and Kingston, because that's where the two international airports are. I want to remind you who asked a question, and I want to remind Jamaica, tomorrow will be 6 days, because the hurricane hit on a Tuesday. So 6 days is where we are at now. And I can say to you that we have not only engaged the full private sector, and they are fully supported with their assets, with their money, and with their expertise, on top of which all of the international organizations and charities who have done this kind of thing all over the world are also at the table. We met for hours on Saturday, and they have done an assessment as to where we are and what we need to do. We cannot bypass the government systems and structures that are in place, but we can take advice and we can use them, and we are intending to do that. You will see a huge improvement this week, and you will see getting better every day going forward. This government is committed, this government is competent to deal with it, and we know our limitations as a government and of course a structure, and we will get the support internationally and from the private sector jointly to deal with this in a comprehensive way, that at the end of it, when we rebuild, we'll be rebuilding for the future and fixing a lot of what problems there were for the last 60 years.
I just want to respond on the comments around the shelter and the relief supplies. I want to make it clear that prior to the hurricane season, all the municipal corporations meet with the...
My questions weren't answered. I'm going to repeat them and add two new ones. There has been an obvious and concerning difference in the immediacy of response to Westmoreland as compared to St. Elizabeth. I'm asking why, and with the absolute respect, saying that everybody is the same isn't a response to that concern. Secondly, the response that warehouses were pre-positioned before the hurricane doesn't answer my question as to the slowness of the response once the hurricane had passed in getting in aid, in putting in warehouses or whatever it takes, as well as in providing shelter and or evacuation. So those questions haven't been answered. And then two new ones. One, I'm not hearing an acknowledgement of the fact that there is a crisis in terms of fuel in Western Jamaica, and whether there is some kind of special initiative to deal with that situation. Like all of my colleagues, I've been in the field. I was in Sav yesterday, in Westmoreland yesterday, saw Senator. The gas stations are mobbed with individuals with containers as well as with long lines of car. You can't get no gas until you basically reach back to Kingston. I'm not hearing a specific initiative to address that problem. And finally, I am not hearing any indication of what sounds like a bipartisan effort to deal with this issue. The government, just from looking on, seems to have almost entirely shut out the opposition, notwithstanding your comment about an informal conversation over the phone with the spokesman on Education Minister. We are not hearing or seeing what appears to be a bipartisan effort to deal with this crisis.
Well, we're seeing here in the parish of Westmoreland for the first time the arrival of limited amounts of aid. It's food, it's water, it's products like bleach, all of which are needed. But it's just nowhere near enough. This, strikingly, is a private donation coming out of Kingston. There's still, incredibly, no sign of aid or support from the Jamaican government or indeed from international organisations either. So this in no way is enough. It needs to be scaled up. It needs to be mobilised here quickly. We've just come from communities up in the hills where people are injured and needing help. We've seen people with deep cuts and gashes, and they say they have no medical facilities to turn to. Everything up there has been destroyed. So I would judge right now that the needs in Western Jamaica are perhaps greater than ever before. At the moment it is literally neighbour helping neighbour as they've weathered the storm. But now comes the much more important task of trying to rebuild infrastructure, repair homes and try and get their lives back before hunger begins to strike here. There's a significant problem here, and this is just the beginning of what needs to be a massive relief effort.
The price of food has doubled. The price of building material doubled. Taxi and bus fare have doubled also. I want you to give me an answer to how the government going to work within Westmoreland, Western or the parish of Westmoreland, in stopping some of the abuses which are taking place with our citizens. That's number one. Number two is when you speak to the assessment that will be done. Prime Minister, I want to ask a question. It's hard when you go to a citizen home and the citizen basically is without a roof. I think, and this is just a suggestion, Prime Minister, if we could more or less hire 100 persons in every constituency to go out and start doing the assessment, because it's hard to tell a man who is without a roof that he's going to have to wait until we clear all the roads, until we put all the mechanism in place to ensure synergy and all of that good stuff. So I'm recommending to you, Prime Minister, asking you, would it be possible for every constituency that is affected, for the Ministry of Labour, whoever it is, for us to get some temporary labour to go around and do this assessment? That's two. Three is the shelters. And I speak about the shelter in Townhead and other shelters. There's no bed. There's no food. Persons are sleeping on the concrete. And I'm just wondering if we could pay some more attention to Westmoreland. I don't want to say everything here because the international press is here. So, and you don't hear everything out to the public. But Prime Minister, I'm willing to have a conversation in terms of where we go from here, in terms of how do we help our people. In terms of when you speak to tourism, we have thousands of workers now that are without a job in the tourism sector. The leader of the opposition mentioned some level of compensation for tourism workers. But a couple of weeks ago, the Minister of Tourism came here and he said that under the IDB, there was $1 billion for small hotels to refurbish. And I want to ask the Prime Minister, could a part of that $1 billion be used for grant funding in terms of ensuring that the hotels in the constituency, the workers within the constituency, something can be worked out where between the workers and the hotel, the tourism sector, both work hand in hand in ensuring that we can get up running pretty soon. Prime Minister, the level of devastation / destruction that is in Westmoreland. I heard Member Vaz speak to just the level of trust in terms of the members of parliament and the government. I want to work with the government in ensuring that we help all citizens. And it's very important. And it's very important from the side of the government also that you do everything in your powers to ensure that there's a level of fairness and there's a level of honesty in working with the members of parliament in Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, or wherever, in ensuring that our people get the